And welcome back to Spring Semifinals, where G2 have tied up the series against Fnatic 1-1. G2 have side selection on Game 3, and they dramatically have changed things up. Red side this time round, so this time they have the chance to counter-pick.
Yeah, so this last draft, we had Elise, Gragas, Aurelion, Sol in the first phase for Fnatic on red side. If you are G2 now, problem is that first pick is, you know, if you don't ban the same things like the Shen, the Blanc, and the Cannon, you might have to give one of them over to Fnatic to get something in return. Otherwise, Fnatic might just first pick the Elise and be like, thanks.
Yeah, but at what point do you keep sticking to your bans and maybe just remove some comfort picks, right, in a series? I think Soaz has shown some great Gragas play. I doubt it will be banned out, but I've been liking what he's been bringing on the Gragas. Yeah,
I think actually it would be really good for G2 to get Gragas on their side as well. If they want to have a little bit more engaged in the mid game, where Fnatic are trying to make some of these plays around the map. The Camille ban does signal that Gragas might be the choice for Expect.
Obviously unlikely for Fnatic to ban out Syndra on blue side. I think it will be their preferred first pick.
We have not seen Caps really take it very often. He's wanted to counter pick their Syndra. That's a problem though when Perkz can actually last pick Syndra on the red side in the first phase.
And then ban out the counters.
And then you ban out the counters. But yes, it is definitely a possibility to have it as a first pick.
Shen still available? Is that the third and final ban from G2?
I think it is because Cannon is also open now. And this is one of the things Krep and I were talking about before the game, how if you leave Cannon and Shen open, you can trade with Fnatic. If they go Cannon first pick, you get Shen for Expect.
Oh, and this is why the Syndra ban, but did they miss a ban?
Yes, they did.
Okay. So I was about to say, like, this is why they go for a late Syndra ban, because they want to see if G2 early ban Aurelion Sol. Because then obviously Syndra goes up, but now they're in a bind. They have Syndra, Cannon, and Shen, and which one do you pick? And I think a large reason why Cannon was so good for Fnatic is because they pick it in the second pick phase for one, and Shen helps it a lot. So Shen is more important. I think Shen helps Cannon more than the other way around, because Shen can still help Kalista, etc. too.
And I want to see Cannon now from G2. Good. So they take Cannon away and they take Elise away from Broxa. So Broxa will most likely go Lee Sin right now. And G2 Esports still have that Syndra ready.
But it forces them to pick Lee Sin here already, or else they're getting squeezed.
Oh, it will get banned if they don't pick it, yes. And Broxa is a guy who's dominated on 2 champions. Not really shown a whole lot on anything else.
Does he have anything else? We had that same narrative in the semi-finals. If it's not Lee Sin, Broxa's donezo. And his Elise came out of the brackets now again. Similar early game playstyle. It's going to be Kha'Zix over the Lee Sin.
And this is where it's so good that we have this new ban system where we have a second phase. Because you're already thinking, if you're Fnatic here, are we going to ban out the Rumble, you know, to force this Cannon maybe into the 80 carry position?
I think we're going to see Echo here now from Perkz as a response.
Ooh.
And this is a good thing by having that flexibility in that last pick in this red side. Because if Syndra did not get locked in by Fnatic, Perkz would take it and ban the counters.
Yeah.
And now Perkz actually get a fine matchup for him to play. And they forced Fnatic's hand, I felt like, with some of these picks, the Shen and the Syndra.
Yeah, but Cannon has seen limited success on the stage. Obviously G2, they're removing the 2 strongest niche 80 carry picks that Reckless has left. Probably the Twitch and the Kalista then, I imagine. I don't think banning out one and not both seems suitable, although Cannon 80 carry is a fantastic matchup into Kalista.
It's very interesting that Fnatic keep valuing the bans on Ashe and most likely Caitlyn right here, because the Ezreal, not the Sven, but the Ezreal, and even the Varus.
But it scales up later.
It does scale up later, very true, but Varus is then also an option if Sven wants that.
Banned.
You're right.
That's why they've been doing it, and it's so easy to miss it, but like they've been banning out the trio all the time. They're banning out the 3 ranged poke champions, Varus, Caitlyn, and Ashe, forcing him to at least pick a scaling problem. It's like, not a problem now, it's like credit debt. Credit debt Sven. Like, we'll deal with him when we're already hopefully successful and we have the mid game, because we can't deal with him early. And that also weakens these range supports that Mythilo's playing, and it allows you with your niche picks like the Twist to get through the laning phase.
Not as crazy as when we saw the Vayne pick, but Tristana, we have seen her a little bit, especially over in the LPL. Uzi has had a few games where he went pretty crazy on her. Blade of the Ruin King Rush, which is one of the reasons she can be used, but laning phase is still not the strongest, but it should be okay against an Ezreal.
Yeah. No, it's really fun to watch. It also interacts pretty well against an Echo. Having the ability to shoot an Echo or a Cannon back at will with the ultimate definitely helps you in the mid game.
And of course, this Thresh locked in for Jez is banned both previous games in Phase 2 by G2 Esports. Mythy could go for the combo, which he's done a bunch, currently hovering the Lulu. He needs to lock in, once again, whatever support he prefers.
Yeah, but Fnatic again, looking for a bot lane. skirmish with 3 or 4 people, not just 2.
Yeah. I think this, the thing about Ezreal for me is he's very early laning phase is still really strong. And when you pair that with range supports like Lulu, Karma, these kind of things that also help him push, he can be so annoying to play against. So that's the thing for me with the double AD carry ban on the side of Fnatic in the second phase is you are investing a lot by still putting Sven on what is considered one of his comforts. Now it makes sense with the get past the first few levels and then Sven has to go full late game, but
Ezreal level 1 is actually super strong too. You know, auto Q auto is actually one of the highest damaging trades you can do early on, and level 1 is the only thing that matters because that gets you lane control. Maybe we see Fnatic bring out one of their kind of new evolved level 1s to generate a small lead early in the bot lane.
Could definitely be one of the level 1s where Shen can taunt over Dragon Wall and kind of hide behind people. There's a potential for another lane swap like before. This time around, G2 should be ready for it and might have an early ward up on top side to see if anything's happening. It's interesting because Fnatic, they don't have the same kind of gank pressure with the Kha'Zix either.
No.
So this is a little bit different for them compared to what we've seen.
The 2 lanes bring this. All 3 lanes bring their own CC though. Flash Flay into hook.
True.
Shenton, Syndra QE plus Kha'Zix. If you slip up one time,
he can definitely kill you.
Well, that's what Fnatic will be looking to do. G2 this time around, I want to keep my eyes on Perks as well. He's got that sort of soft counter matchup, Echo into the Syndra, also running teleport. So the option to help respond to wherever Fnatic decides to throw a party. The series is even at 1 game apiece. And Fnatic once again have a new duo in the bottom lane, Tristana Thresh. Let's see what they can do with it. Defending champions G2. 2 back-to-back titles taking on Fnatic. 5-time EU LCS winners. Let's see who's going to get closer to the final and the shot at picking up yet another.
So coming into the game here, it is Trick on the Elise this time around. As Crepo highlighted, there's a lot of CC in the lanes for Fnatic. But it will be harder for Proxys with the early game impact.
Early game impact, gentlemen. Reckless has got himself a longsword and potions going into Sven's Doran and Single. So some extra sustain into the sort of poke lane, I suppose.
Yeah, it's actually quite fascinating as both AD carries can technically start longsword 3 potions. But Sven, I've actually had the opportunity to chat with him a little bit about it. He feels so comfortable and so confident in his laning ability that he doesn't need longsword 3 pulse. He's like, you know what? I will get through my lane just fine on Doran's 1 potion. And there's never a situation anymore where people base faster and get a big item advantage because you can always build together items with so many small components.
Reckless does not care about Sven's Doran's Blade in this game because he's swapping again. Now this is one thing I wanted to highlight from the last game is there are other ways to sit and wait in the top lane. You don't have to sit in that river brush and walk in. You can also sit in the top lane brush and then when Expect doesn't really realize they're up there, you can then actually catch him. But Expect could start Q and just Q into the brush.
Yes, or he could wait. But most cannons start W. Cannon starting Q gets punished really hard.
But that's the thing, you almost have to adapt at this point. When there's already been a lane swap, he's not even thinking about it.
And that's what shows. They're going to start trading. And here we go.
Ooh, just no!
You're supposed to not do that. But it doesn't matter. They can still keep going. Because Expect, let's check what he's skilled real quick. I can't move this mouse, Trevor.
I got you, I got you. W first.
W first. So he's screwed out of luck in terms of lane swap, holding, he can't range farm, and Tristana is a demolitionist. Every single wave, she will get a lot of benefit from that E.
It will not be enough though in the lane swap to get down that tower fast enough. Trick again, fighting against Soaz. Notice on your minimap, guys, how Thresh has already left the lane. It is Reckless alone sitting up there. This is what they wanted to do the last game, to try and funnel a bit more experience into Reckless. He's level 2 now. Jesus rejoins.
Let's talk about lane swap trade-offs though. Because they are going to lose first turret gold. They need to gain it from somewhere else. And a way to do that could always be in the jungle. And that is why Soaz went so aggressively early on.
But the problem for Fnatic is that, in my opinion, the answer to the lane swap for G2 is to take this bot lane tower and then potentially threaten another tower down the bot lane. Force Reckless to recall early and come down to and defend. Because nothing stops G2 from taking 2 towers bot lane. It's an AD carry support sitting top lane. There's only 1 or 2 guys who can defend.
Yeah, and we have the relic of our race cam here, but that's not the modern day age of lane swaps. It's not a race. It's not about this first turret. It's about trading and funneling experience and resources. So we technically actually need to just look at the minimap to see what's going on here and who gets ahead.
As it stands, G2 get tower, first blood gold in their favor. Reckless, as well as Jez, is starting to recall there, and Broxah has cleared out that top quadrant of the jungle.
Yeah, and if you look at the junglers, a jungler like Kha'Zix, power farming in this jungle also gets him ahead. I think he has essentially 3-buff Trick, and he's spiraling out of control and experience.
This is the problem for Trick, is that when he's obviously doing his top side and it's a lane swap, it's 2 or 3 guys from Fnatic walking into his jungle, forcing him out. And then he can't really go to the bottom side because that's where Broxah starts. So Broxah starts opposite side of the map, gets his camps, and can then go into the top side after Soaz. And of course, Jez has pushed this Elise out. So that's an experience advantage for Broxah. But I like this from G2 a lot. By going back to the bottom lane, they're not going for this trade they did in the last game, where they gave over that tower to Fnatic. And Fnatic actually evened out the goal because it's still pre-5 minutes. So G2 can't go top lane and rush down a top tower. They have to wait, and that's how Fnatic actually bounced back in the swap last time.
And a lot of, honestly, experience is put into Broxah here. He has to make it pay off. That is really important. Something also cool to look at is how tank versus carry matchups get influenced by gold or lack thereof. Historically, tanks were better to pick in lane swap because at least with base stats, they scaled okay. A champion like Kennen that has to reach certain thresholds, then in the mid game, deal with different people in side lanes, being put behind early and starved of farm, obviously not as drastically as historically was, it helps the scaling go into Shen's favor just a tad.
Also, Kennen is really good before he goes back to base. Not the greatest after first few bases because his items are not very impactful on him. He needs to play the Ruined King to really start taking over that lane. So this is really good for Soaz, and that's important to highlight. Fnatic are okay giving up gold to G2 to get out of certain lanes they're not interested in, and trying to get experience advantage on 1, maybe 2 members. It's Broxah in this game here getting the experience advantage by him doing 3 jungle clears, but over 3 like parts of the jungle, and only 1 over to Trick.
All right, so with the advantages that Broxah's got, what does Trick have to do to respond? I want to look at his first 2 games. Both games on Graves. Number 1, a lot slower. Number 2, great adaptation. You know, sort of reading Broxah's early game. We'll get those numbers on your screen in a moment or two. But yeah, Trick, this time around, a little bit behind in camps, a little bit behind in clears, but has the ability to make those all-impactful picks.
Yeah, the numbers, there's something. At least what changed the most in Trick's gameplay is that he didn't go as farm-centric in Game 2, and he was obviously waiting very often for Fnatic in key brushes. He found the double kill in the top lane. He found Broxah in his jungle in the mid-game. In that Game 2, he learned from the style that Fnatic brought out in Game 1, but now it's a different style with another shook-up early game. Can Trick adapt in time? We'll have to see.
Well, his camps are back up, so he will actually catch up in experience. Broxah not really able to do a whole lot with this lead because he's also playing Kha'Zix in the early game.
Yes, but at the same token, though, Kha'Zix versus Elise is a matchup where usually the lead is made on the level 4 gank or level 3 gank by Elise. At least gets some pressure out, because level 6 Kha'Zix gets progressively stronger and then keeps scaling. Elise, if you can power farm versus a jungler like Elise and force her to farm as well, you will win out in the scaling department.
Good thing for Trick there is the early game is still here. We actually have standard lanes now. We just got a little bit delayed, and G2 got a gold advantage because of the bot lane tower going down. So there is still plenty of time for Trick to try and really impact the game. Definitely agree though, the full late game, not that much value. But at the same time, again, Reckless has a bit of an experience lead, about half a level, slightly more over Sven. And once he's level 6, that's where we might see Fnatic turn it on.
And if you wonder why Reckless was kind of trading 1v2 there, Jesus was playing back to lantern him out because they're not sure where Trick is, and they don't want to get surprised by a blast cone play right there, where exactly for this, the lantern comes out and then they want to catch, because they can't run to the safety of their turret. This is an incredibly hard map to play for Fnatic. If Trick finds his way into the enemy jungle by rappelling over to the blast cone, for example, he could technically show up behind Fnatic and surprise them entirely.
Trick almost level 6 at this point, but he's still ready to gank. It is hard though. He's also here just for backup for Expect. He's allowing Expect to push out very aggressively because the jungler is already here. If Soaz suddenly starts trading for no reason, yes, you might be able to gank. Otherwise, just make sure your top laner can push it out, give him all the gold, and then you can all go back.
And look at what Caps has been doing recently. He is constantly hiding around the corner or going into the river in between lanes. He just cleared out a pink ward in the Pixel Brush left side. Then he pushed mid, and he went to the right side, disappearing in Fog of War, potentially lantern ganking bot lane. Fnatic is helping their side lanes by putting constant pressure by removing Caps and making him kind of pseudo-roam.
And now you have level 6 on Tristana to level 5 on Sven. This is a big thing for Fnatic. If they can get a play down bot lane, tier as well on the Ezreal, see if they can actually find some opening.
Well, the focus is mid lane. Chrono Break comes out for Perks. He's going to get jumped on Stand United, delivers Soaz under the tower. Shadow Dash taunts up Perks, but he stays alive, and escapes. It's first blood to Perks, donated by Fnatic. The cocoon for Trick goes wide as Cap survives.
So huge, looked pretty bad almost at first. Let's see the ulti. Don't think it has enough damage.
Nope.
But man, it looked risky at first from Perks, but he managed to get the shield down on the tower. Outplays Fnatic, gets the kills here. So he jumps in actually without proper vision.
I think this is where you shed ulti already. It's a fraction of a second lane, and this is where Fnatic, it's such a great idea usually to go 3v1, but Echo is probably the only pick that could even in theory survive this. And look at Broxa, he backed off because he thought the kill was done. Broxa could have walked in, went for an execute, and then flashed out. So again, this is where he's so used to Caps. I got this. He's dead. Don't waste your flash. That maybe they weren't accounting for the survivability of Echo.
And meanwhile, the bottom lane from G2, despite being a level down, having a tier Ezreal, are actually able to stay even with Fnatic's bottom lane. So that investment in some early experience for Reckless has not allowed Fnatic to get a big advantage on the bottom side. Ideally for them, they could have sent down Broxa, Syndra, Shen. I'm not sure why I said Broxa by name, but he's the Kha'Zix. Send all these guys down to the bottom lane with the level 6 Tristana. Dove onto G2's bot lane, taking that tower. But because Perks actually made that play, Fnatic couldn't go aggressive.
And in part, why Reckless and Jesus can't push through is because they don't have a turret anymore. Jesus is constantly playing back in kind of Lantern safety style because he doesn't know where Trick is. And that's the problem right there. You can bully this matchup and you can maybe make advantage of the fact that Sven has tier, but if you constantly have to be wary of ganks, your support has to play slightly backwards. And that actually goes back to the level 1 where they were obviously hoping to maybe get a kill on the Shen as well, or on to Expect rather, and it backfired a little bit for Fnatic, and now G2, they've already played the scenario out once. They know how to react to this lane swap in the early game.
That could be problematic for Fnatic. If G2 have a read and can respond, maybe they'll be able to pull ahead. Take a look at this in the top lane. So he's going to taunt up Expect. He's got himself the recurve bow, almost done, collecting the bonus gold on Cole, getting closer to that Blade of the Rune King, and that's where Soaz's life becomes difficult.
There are two things that are happening right now, though, that are in favor of Fnatic. The Expect Kennen matchup is not snowballing on the Shen and is delayed in terms of spike. And in the bottom lane, usually Sven and Mithy are the ones who decide when they base, but they're still getting pushed in. Now, Perks is low.
Well, Caps is going to sidestep the ulti. Caps still looking for safety. Cleanse available, but no flash. Cocoon connects. There goes the cleanse under the tower. 2 shots for Perks, and Caps stays alive.
I love so many of these small plays happening right now. Like the movement from Caps as well, knowing exactly where Perks is going to ulti back to. So he steps out of it, doesn't take the damage. Instant cleanse on the gank here from Trick. Really small things that shows the mechanics of some of these players. Under pressure. Like this is not just sitting at home.
That's the Kha'Zix.
Oh, look at that damage.
That's Kha'Zix mechanics, by the way.
He waited for him to walk in. He right-clicked and pressed Q.
It is Kha'Zix mechanics. We've all faced that in solo queue, and it's not fun when he gets ahead.
Yeah, it happens all the way down from Silver 5 to Diamond 5.
I'm ARAM Master.
Oh, thanks. I'm so glad you called me Diamond.
I feel like Diamond 3.
Well,
guys, there's a game going on.
With the amount of games you play, you can't talk.
That kill allows Fnatic to get their first tower as well. The tier build has finally been upgraded to a man immune for Sven. But yeah, Fnatic, after the sort of ability for Caps to survive in the mid lane and then unfortunate catch by Trick in the jungle, they're right back into this game.
Yeah, it takes you back to game 1 as well, where G2 were fine until they overstepped a bit. Then they understepped in game 2.
Yeah. Got to the late game though.
Overstepping again here. A few cocoons missed by Trick as well. I hope it doesn't get to his head, because this game could have snowballed already for G2 if he hit that earlier cocoon in the mid lane, for example, or the kill on Caps just now was very close. Twice Caps survives where he could have died.
It's actually such an interesting thing about Trick and his history here in Europe. I always feel like with Trick, when everything is going well for G2, he's like the most consistent member. Never really seems to have like a bad game, except for these moments, especially international tournaments, where then something goes wrong and then Trick seems to suffer the most. Now, I think last game he kind of showed how he could bounce back and take on Fnatic head on. This game here, though, with Elise, it is tough because he was actually trying to catch up. Then he died 1v1 to Broxa.
Oh, so unfortunate. Uses the blast cone over the wall. Wildgood failed flash as well. Face plants. Not going to be able to get over the wall. Mithy still survives. The damage isn't enough. Buster shot comes down from Reckless, but he's not forced to run away. Perks, chrono breaks to safety. Here comes Expect. The slicing Maelstrom is tearing Fnatic apart. They're running for their life. Flashes over the wall. Sven's used the arcane shift. Cocoon at max range. Trick sets it up for Perks to knock it down.
Oh, it looks so good for Fnatic at first, but Mithy, this is called the bait flash, forced the rest of Fnatic to actually invest everything on trying to kill him.
First thing that's problematic for this play from Fnatic is that Kha'Zix and Syndra are not there. Jesus also doesn't pre-buffer the box. So Mithy is not slowed. If you box before you hook, you can one-shot him. You have to do that because look where Syndra is. Syndra was basing, canceled the base, and now starts walking. So this is a problem with Fnatic's kind of over-aggression. They're opting into a play where only 3 members are participating versus a lot of teleports.
And some good things here as well for G2 and kind of their adaptation between the games. As we get a dramatic camera switch around. Instant TP from Expect.
Yeah.
That was one of the problems in the first game. Adaptation in the lane swap as well, by going back down to that bottom lane and saying, you know what, we can lane even despite being 1 level down. And it actually slowed down Fnatic. Remember, it's very fast-paced early game. So G2 are showing like very quick adaptations between the games, which is very good for them.
And this mid lane matchup is so centric. Like we came in hyping Sven versus Reckless. You know, the marquee matchup, but honestly it's been Caps versus Perks, because now Perks has Caps in lockdown. Once he hits Merc's Proto Belt, Echo has the pressure in this lane, which means Caps is on the back foot.
And Echo can go to the side lane. Syndra cannot. If you go to side lane as a Syndra to try and match the Echo, you will just die to like Elise, TP Cannon, might even die 1v1 to the Echo, because these very long lanes are so in favor of Perks. So Caps kind of going to rely on being able to create a pick with his team around the mid lane.
Oh, look at this.
Yeah, it's not very fun to play. This is disgusting to deal with.
And that's why Fnatic are falling apart right now. They're looking for an answer in the bottom lane though.
Okay, Trick goes in, but I don't think he wants this fight. Here comes Broxa. Needs to find some time. Trick's able to repel to a ward. Stand United, going to save Broxa for a few seconds longer, but only to allow time for Perks to arrive. And Perks 4-0-1 on Echo.
Perks is making a statement game here. He was involved in the top fight, now in the bottom fight after solo killing Caps. Obviously, he got help from his team. They were ganking for him in the mid lane, but he's really taking this counter pick to the extreme with the Echo versus Syndra matchup.
Perks has been criticized so much by the community the entire last year. You cannot criticize his performance this split. He's been one of the most consistent members in the EULCS. He's gotten much better in the early game. He's been able to get CS leads. He's actually the highest CSD difference for all mid laners in Europe. And a game like this, against Caps as well on Syndra, Perks here with the Echo is really showing how good he's actually playing this year.
Yeah, he's making a statement for being the best mid laner in Europe. I think he was already kind of rated that among a lot of experts. I think the Aurelion Soul pick works because Perks is not used to playing against it. But a lot of these other matchups, he has practiced to the extremes and he knows the ins and outs. This guy has gone through a history of being mechanically proficient in Spring, going in almost like a donkey sometimes. Just go, 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 fight, 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 to then catching himself and playing too passive, and now he's trying to go in between.
Gentlemen, we're approaching 17 minutes into the game. G2 have got a very sizable lead. And if they pick up the series, they managed to go to Hamburg 2-time defending champion, right? Fnatic, 5 LCS splits. Alliance have got 1 to their name. Like, these 2 organizations are the 2 winningest organizations in the EULCS. Yes, winningest.
Nice Englando. But yeah, the two
they
most
win a lot, I agree, Trevor.
The 2 most winningest organizations. For G2, it'll still be tricky to play out this mid game, because Kennen on the side lane has seen a lot of failures in European LCS when trying to execute mid games.
Luckily, this Kennen doesn't need to carry a damn thing. He just needs to actually sit and push a wave.
Participation trophy for Expect.
Exactly. There you go. Expect you push minions. It's about Perks. Put Perks in that side lane. Whoever goes against him, he will kill. Like if it's Reckless or something. Fnatic might try and answer by keeping Jess's Reckless in the side lane together, so they play 2v1 against Perks.
And then we get to judge Perks, because one of his main flaws in Summer was the amount of deaths on side lanes that he got when getting greedy, even when he had leads early on. Obviously, I think right now he is too far ahead to even potentially die, and he's also on a champion that is, you have to try to die on Echo on the side lane.
But so basically what's happening right now is that Fnatic are keeping, as I said before here, Reckless and Jess on the side. This stops Perkz from becoming a pure split pusher because he can't deal with the 1v2, 1v3 at the moment. And that means G2 is actually matching with Sven and Mithy. They can still swap it around if they want to, but obviously there's a lot of wave clear from Syndra.
Yeah, but it also helps that Echo is just so good into Syndra.
Everything working out for Perkz. If you look at the inventories right now, Fnatic definitely agreeing to the refillable potion strategy. 5 of them on the inventory.
Recycling is important.
A plenty for the G2 squad. And as we get close to 20 minutes, G2 with this lead, they are 9-1 when it comes to win-loss, when the team has secured first tower and first blood. And having an Echo that can literally insta-give everybody is going to open up opportunities for G2 as we approach this mid-game.
And that's a problem for Fnatic right now. You're falling behind against a 1-3-1 comp. Even bot lane fighting.
Well, Trick's going to find the cocoon. Soaz gets a decent Shadow Dash taunt. Spirit's Refuge will buy some time against this on-hit Kennen. Manages to escape for a few seconds longer before Expect kills Soaz. Teleport delivers Perkz to the bottom lane, and now the tower's the focus.
Yeah, Broxah's looking for Sven in the top lane. He may actually find a pick there as we see Perkz maybe escape.
It does indeed. A charge from Reckless's Tristana, not going to be able to pick up the kill. And Soaz, 20-second death timer before he can rejoin any skirmishes.
And what is Broxah doing there? He's been hiding there for quite a while, looking to find Sven.
He's looking for him now.
Let's take a look. Isolated damage available. On the hunt goes down. Sven, summon a heal, flash over the wall. Flash for Sven as well. Here comes Broxah, support from Caps. Cleanse is available for Caps. No flash though. Not going to get needed, and not even going to get the assist.
Sneaky play from Broxah on the top side. His team did also defend the tower bot lane, so they actually ended up trading kills right there. Perkz really wanted that blast cone. And also check if there was a potential control ward maybe in the brush.
One thing, gentlemen, is expect Kennen 2-0-3 right now. Blade of the Rune King and Hurricane. The fact that he was somewhat hurt early on, I don't think it matters anymore.
I mean, he's getting them items. It's just he could have gotten them faster, and the split situation mattered. But again, it's like the Fisher pointed out earlier. It's not about him.
Yeah.
He is basically participating in the Perkz show right now.
And Kennen also will still just get stronger and stronger in the side lane. Shen obviously can't do a damn thing against him. We'll just have to sit there and try and make a play on the other side. Like, that's the problem for Fnatic in their comp right now. Fnatic's comp has basically no playmaking ability because they can't play on the side lanes against G2's composition. And engaging mid is against the Echo. And the Echo has his ulti, his jump, everything to get away. So Fnatic's comp was actually relying on getting ahead early and then used Tristana and Syndra to siege. This is how they're trying to make plays.
Oh, signature move, ganking in the side lane between Soaz on Reckless or Reckless on Soaz. The problem is, after that mid lane failure, where Soaz went in, he lost so much time and experience that yes, the early hit that Expect took, Soaz took an even bigger hit right after, and it propelled the disparity in the matchup forward again.
I do think that what Fnatic is trying to do in the side lane makes a lot of sense. They're like, we're not gonna win unless we get like a kill in the side lane into like a tower, later on maybe a Baron. Like, that's kind of our way back. This top lane tower is open for them, but they will lose a Dragon Front. And this mid tower is just waiting to die. There we
go. One shot from the phase dive. Perkz fancies himself an opportunity, but doesn't go too far. Broxah was waiting just in the wings.
Yeah, and this is why Echo is so annoying. Expect may actually die here with Stand United.
All right, Expect's going to try to escape. No flash available to him. Reckless should pick this one up nice and easy, but it took Stand United to guarantee it.
This is what we just talked about. Like, try and make that one pick in a side lane. Get a tower for it. In 5 minutes, if you do the same, maybe try and get a Baron at 4v5 at least. That's kind of your way back if you are Fnatic, because this siege with Tristana, where you just take down towers left and right, you have Syndra next to you, and it's a great setup. Only works when you actually get ahead or stay even in the early game. This game they fell behind, so it's been very hard to use that composition. And Sven, even with time, because he got an early recall off, is top lane defending now.
And now this novelty...
surely you're going to check with Q if you're going to walk
the
out.
novelty of these side lane ganks, as well as the novelty of this lane swap, should wear off. And we need to see if Fnatic has more up their sleeve than just this in this series. Because it's great for a best of 1, maybe a best of 3, but it may just be too little in a best of 5.
And much earlier in the series, I compared like game 1, G2 against CLG at Worlds. That was a best of 1. G2 actually never got a chance to show up and play a second or third game against that CLG lineup with the same kind of pick and ban phases and adapt. This series, they've adapted much better. And they're showing why they are so far the best team in Europe.
And now we get to see how good Fnatic is at playing from behind, because so far over the last few weeks, when Fnatic have got leads early, they've tended to win games. But the mark of great teams as well, adapting, reacting to what your opponents are doing. And let's see, Soaz taking a big fight to the expect down bottom, and look at the mini
again. So they're looking for a familiar stat, but G2,
But they should call miss on Tristana here.
Yeah, and they're pushing aggressively on the top side. And look how Perkz is always generating rotations here. Perkz pushes up mid, which means he can always go to the side lanes, and if people disappear, they still get numbers advantage.
And you can just see right here how G2 are talking about this missing Tristana. If you're pushing in 2 lanes, mid and top lane, and the enemy AD carry is not
farming,
and he's not farming any of those 2 lanes, well then he can only be in the last remaining lane. So Expect just walked away. He's like, I'm not even gonna try anything here. Just stepped away. Reckless is still down here. Expect to still know that Reckless has not shown on the map, and that's why he's recalling on this cannon.
And when it fails for Fnatic, Reckless will progressively get starved out of farm and local turret gold that his opponent AD carry is taking.
That's allowing Sven to get closer to his 3rd item completed here. Got that Cutlass picked up. Look at Perkz, by the way. Hourglass, Lichbane, and Proto Belt already plus 9 stacks on that Dark Seal.
It's all based around jumping in with the E on the target, popping Q, and then seeing what happens. Do I hit the turret and go out? Yes. Am I getting hit on the way out? I ulti out. Am I in too deep and is ulti not going to save me? Zonias, wait for another cooldown rotation and have your team help you. Like, you have flexibility that you can decide after you see how your opponent reacts to E. That is the beauty of this build. And if you want to go all in, you Proto Belt. You go forward. And Caps has to deal with it. He basically needs to interrupt every single dash with his own E ability and stop him mid-flight, otherwise he's just dead.
It's also so effective to build some defensive items when you're really far ahead.
Yeah.
Because your damage just from even the defensive items is high enough to kill the members on the other team who's behind.
And it punishes them even more if they build offensively.
Exactly, and the way, again, defensive stats works, Crepper, you talked about this early in the series, like how early on, if you sit on like a low amount of armor and you put in an hourglass, that armor you get will just spike up your damage reduction a ton early. If you get like obviously 250 armor, it's way less. So it's so effective right now for pure damage reduction that Perkz is building this way. Both MR, HP from Proto Build, armor from Hourglass. Bot lane, Tristana again.
Oh, he passed the ward. He didn't even see it. He's so tunneled on this taunt play. Reckless passed the blue trinket. Maybe he sees it now.
Is it a blue trinket? I think it's just a regular ward. Oh. It's the other way around. It's swapped.
Well, he has a blue trinket in his inventory.
Blue trinket in the Tribush. Yeah. Well, take a look at the mid lane. Caps, the target of Stand United. Perkz has already used that chrono break to get out to safety. Now, all of a sudden, G2, they've got the ultimate from Soaz.
Like, he should be able to see that, right?
Oh, yeah, he would definitely see that one.
We were thinking, like, maybe he...
I was just looking at the minimap. I actually thought the wards would look the same on the side, just of different colors, but they are swapped around.
Yeah, points in different directions. Soaz is able to land into safety. Jez is on this Thresh. Never really had the opportunity to shine early on in that laning phase, but now we need to see how well he uses that lantern. Perkz taunted up. I'm looking at the minimap, there's no support though.
And this is how G2 are often so successful. It feels like nothing really has happened, yet this gold lead is constantly getting bigger because they're always just...
Caps trying.
Not dying, hopefully. They're always just playing on the side lanes, taking away small objectives like enemy camps, the Krugs, the Raptors, then taking a chip damage on turrets, a small rotation here and there, maybe a little pick, and this gold gap keeps getting bigger and bigger, and they leave very little counterplay for their opponents as long as they keep checking the minimap for who's missing.
I love the evolution of Expect over the few splits he's been in the ULCS. He's under a lot of pressure in this game here. The entire way back into this game from Fnatic is try and gank Expect and hope he overextends, but he's always respecting it. And the reason G2 are playing it like fairly slow now is because they know once they're strong enough to safely take Baron, they can just instantly start it, and then you get a big fight in favor of G2 around it. They're actually not that much in a hurry because we're only 27 minutes in. This is the time now they want to start going for the actual Baron. So Expect has just been buying time for the team, and they've been farming 3 lanes, and they have full map control.
It's also great to see Expect playing a couple of different champions as time has gone on. I mean, Reckless almost gets one shot by Perkz.
It's so hard. Look, they're trying to face check. If we get a vision toggle, we'll just see how much control G2 have in the river. Like, it's so dark there for Fnatic. It's so hard to face check. They have all that control right there. But that's G2's vision. We need to see what Fnatic is seeing. Yeah, exactly. Nothing. And that's why Reckless...
They see Perkz and they want to kill him.
Yeah, and once he's missing, they're scared of him on every single lane. Soaz won't do anything here. Expect is just buying time, and Reckless is again trying to do the same thing.
Well, not going to be enough just yet. Caps flashes away from Perkz. Phase dive will become available in a moment's time, and that's the kill. Perkz is unstoppable. 5-0-1.
And now we're moving to the Baron.
Now it's Baron time for G2. At least very soon. Broxah thinks they might have been starting it. He's sneaking behind with a ward. That's about it. No one sees him though.
It's actually important for Broxah.
And he needs to stay there, so when they start it, he can steal it. They'll still check the brush, but it could be a pivotal moment here, because Perkz can just go to base and ulti back.
But also if you're G2, like, you know that Baron steal is kind of one of the few ways left for Fnatic to really do anything. So they probably don't want to risk it when Brox is still alive. Yeah,
look at him, they're just baiting. They don't know that the guy they're looking for is actually in their jungle.
He's still sitting there.
And there's no control ward in the pit, that's the mistake. You always need a control ward in the pit right there to see if they snuck in a ward somehow.
In the previous game, Fnatic not doing their due diligence 100%, ends up allowing G2 to play around it. This time round,
Broxah cancel again.
Yeah,
Broxah is still there.
The mentality here for G2 is, this fight doesn't matter. Like, they swept the Baron pit.
Nice stun. That was actually very important.
They're doing Baron, by the way. Look at Broxah, he's gonna steal it.
He's gonna steal it!
Fnatic stole the Baron! That's what happens when you don't do your diligence!
You do not understand. G2, from their side, they almost played it perfect. They swept the pit once, right? They placed their control wards outside to punish wards being placed over the wall.
They check for blue trinkets?
They check for blue trinkets in the pit. They know nobody was near the Baron because they didn't see a goddamn like little bug. They know nobody is close enough to ward under the assumption that Broxah is not in that exact brush.
Oh, look at this! Oh, not enough damage just yet, gentlemen. Okay, Fnatic have Baron on 3 of their members. They're defending against G2, who are still 8,000 gold up.
It's a defensive Baron.
But it's a tilter. It's a best of 5 we're playing, right? This is like a mental hit that you can deal to your opponents despite losing.
I think if Fnatic had been up 2-0, this happened, yes. Massive tilter for G2. I think right now they're like, wow, we didn't know he was there.
Like, so they don't know there's a
they have no idea.
They swept it and there's no blue trinkets. There can't be a ward. Nobody's been close except this guy. He was in the brush all along. And they feel stupid.
They get a kill bot lane. They got bot lane tower after. Fnatic are too far behind to use the Baron buff aggressively, and it was only used to just deny it from G2.
Yeah.
That is the only thing Fnatic really gains from this Baron.
But it's still fun.
Which is pretty big. And like, Broxah was sitting there for such a long time.
Yes.
Canceling recalls, like, oh, no one is seeing me.
But it feels so horrible, like, having been in similar situations, just like, even in solo queue where you're like, oh, I've run the numbers. There is no way this plan fails.
Yeah.
Oh.
I mean, okay, yeah. One control ward was missing.
No, it's not one control. It's just the assumption that nobody can cover. They had all the exits like covered with wards, but this guy just slipped in.
But that's the thing, you know. If they had that one control ward in the Baron pit, they obviously would have seen the ward and knew Broxah would be behind. So if you just added that control ward, perfect. The fact it wasn't there allowed Broxah to sit in that brush behind, allowed him to get in that ward. Small things that I almost. It's so hard to kind of blame G2 for it because it was that one little thing.
But it's one little thing. Luckily, in a game where G2 was 7,000 or 8,000 gold up, right? It didn't have the same impact. Had the game been more even, obviously, significantly more impactful. G2 are still 9,000 gold up, 7 kills up, 4 towers. I mean, every single metric they're in the lead, except for Baron.
But from a morale point of view, even if G2 don't take a hit, Fnatic may find more confidence. Because there's a difference between losing in game 3, getting smashed 20k down, and getting macro to hell, as opposed to saying, you know what, we had key moments where we went for unconventional style, and we got something out of it.
Now, I think though for Fnatic, at this point already, you're also a little bit kind of thinking about this blue side is a problem. G2 obviously picked red side in this game, came in with a good strategy. We talked about it in Champs Select a lot, with their give over Shen, take the cannon for expect, you have that as your top lane matchup, and then you can counter pick for Perkz as well. Normally it's Caps who wants to counter pick. This was pretty huge for G2. So obviously Fnatic gonna pick red side in the next game if, you know, they want to try and change up this draft.
And that's a difficult thing to figure out, especially at 33 minutes when G2, they've still got to crack the base, right? It's 5 towers to 1. G2 need to figure out how to get into the inhibitors of Fnatic. Elder Dragon's coming up next, so maybe they can force a fight. But for Fnatic, it's just Turtle, try to use your wave clear, try to buy time so that this lead becomes less significant, and maybe hope for a misplake or an overreach from G2.
It's try to get Tristana to like full late game, but we are
very far.
15-20 minutes from that. You can see on your screen that Reckless 2.5, well, 2 items fully completed and 2 halves completed as well, the QSS and then the stage. He's going for that Frozen Mallet, but Frozen Mallet is actually something I think is fine if you're ahead.
But it sucks when behind.
When you're behind, it's really, really bad, because you don't need more HP, you need more damage.
You don't need to slow them either. It's not like they're running at you. They're going to try and kill you. You do not need to slow them.
So he's obviously purely building it for HP in a game like this, but that's kind of the problem. You can't play the defensive style when you're already this far behind. You have to go all in for damage. There needs to be an eye edge coming. There needs to be another crit item for him, so he can actually be a late game carry. Frozen Mallet will not give him enough attack speed, AD, crit, anything that he really needs. Just a little bit of AD and that's about it.
Well, for Reckless, he wants to try to get to that point. The last time he actually played Tristana in competitive was 2015 Semifinals.
Pentakill?
It was indeed.
In Sweden, that was pretty sick.
It was indeed, and for Reckless, he's got that Frozen Mallet completed. He doesn't have the damage just yet.
Those were different Tristana comps.
Oh, yes.
Built around like the Lulu style comps back in the day. Now he's kind of slotted into a composition where he has to make his own plays.
Gonna have some opportunities as G2 are now trying to spread Fnatic's resources across the map. Perkz gets a phase dive onto the tower and Chrono breaks out.
Like he goes in and then he gets surprised by the Shen being there and immediately pops ulti. That is the versatility of this Echo. He can still do it one more time and just pops Zonius. Wait for Steam.
Look at the damage. Sven almost takes out Broxah. Soaz is caught up. He's got that GA available, but G2 have just got, they've got damage, they've got waves, they've got control for everything.
Trick also accepted that he fell behind early and just went full support Elise right here. Knight's Vow in there, some tanky items, some CDR for a few more cocoons. Didn't opt into like a pure AP build, knowing that he was behind, and the rest of his team was obviously doing well.
Yeah, Knight's Vow is one of those items that took some aging for people to really acquire the fine taste that is sacrificing your item build to help other people. Progressively, as more and more people got autofilled in support, they warmed up to the idea that being a team player actually can get you victories.
It can. Or you can play like Brand and build full AP and actually win more solo queue games.
Is that where Brand came from? Is that the genesis of this?
Brand is one of those situations where autofill happened and the guy is like, I'm not going to play support, I'm actually going to play carry. And then people realized, huh, that's kind of legit because of the stun. And the damage obviously early on.
Well, G2 have got stuns, they've got damage. There's a Baron in 30 seconds. They've got Elder as well. So for Fnatic, Broxah, you pulled off a mini, I'm not going to say miracle. You pulled off a surprise steal once this game. Let's see if G2 provide any sort of opportunities for another one, because this G2 style, it's controlled, it's safe, it's secure to 6th tower. There's not a lot of risk involved in G2's decision-making right now.
No, again, they played very slow and steady when they know their late game is extremely strong. It is very much a G2 one. They're trying to guarantee, like, always having a really, really high chance of success and a very small chance of failure. This is the kind of style that sometimes backfires for them when other teams are enforcing plays.
Have we seen this before?
We've seen it 5 times, probably. And every time Expectus walked away and not died to it.
Look at the vision here from Fnatic. Yes, they've got the Scuttle Crab. They know Baron's going down, but they can't do a damn thing about it.
So, no Broxah here. I think I found a word of the cast, at least for this one game. Don't want to repeat it, though.
Is this where we start to worry for Fnatic? Previous game, they had a lead, but they couldn't convert it with that, you know, strategy decision-making. This time around, the lane swap again kind of backfires.
I don't think it was the lane swap. I think it was the gank on the mid lane, right, that really snowballed the game. It got Perkz ahead and Soaz behind. 2 pivotal members in this game.
Yeah, after they won their early game in the second game, I don't think you should be too concerned specifically, because they were actually playing that comp for like 25 minutes really well. They were pretty far ahead. Then you can obviously look back at some of those late game team fights that happened where Perkz got off a good shockwave on Reckless, that kind of turned it in favor of G2, and these small things allowed G2 to go full late game. I'm concerned about Fnatic on blue side, which means G2 in a potential game 5 will get side selection again. and then they can pick red side once again, because that's where Fnatic needs to come up with answers. I think next game, they still have a good chance of actually bouncing back.
Well, that does give a sigh of relief to the Fnatic fans here in Berlin and anyone watching at home. For G2 though, 15,000 gold lead. Look at this, Perks again, single phase dive, Chrono breaks out. He's hit full build, death cap as well. Yeah. The rest of the G2 members applying pressure in the mid lane. Finds a death sentence, but Sven's able to escape with the Mercurial Scimitar.
That was a flash predict from Jessis, I'm pretty sure. He flashed in, predicted Zen's flash, and then he has Q assist. That feels really bad. This is actually something Jessis does really well in a lot of games, even on Camille, is incorporating enemy flashes in his skill shots. Didn't do it level 1, where he missed the play.
Manages to at least delay the siege, but look at the minimap. There is an army of G2 super minions pouring through. It has unfortunately been cleared out though. G2 just trying to usher them in.
But how hard is it? Look at the safety of Perks. Perks flashing away here, something he may have not done in the past. Just G2 always being super safe. And they can be, because Perks is 2 full items ahead. Right now, Broxah tries to come in.
Get some good damage onto Perks. Chrono break goes out.
But he's just buying time.
Oh, Perks almost kills Cap. Zonia's goes down. Teleport will deliver, expect, and he flashes forward with the slicing maelstrom. The mid inhibitor turret has fallen. It's Sven that knocks that one over. Caps is now under threat. He's able to escape with the recall, and the inhibitor has been dropped.
Yeah, and G2 constantly covering for each other. Perks buying time, his team covering for him by just hitting structures, getting a bigger yield off that single play, then expect coming in to help him out. And in the end, nobody dies, and they finally break open the base here.
Well, it is a 20,000 gold lead almost for G2. And it means that Fnatic will have side selection in game 4 very, very soon. Mithy and Sven bottom lane. Trick, Perks moving up to help expect in the top lane. And look at Soaz. He is being melted by this 80 top cannon.
And this is one of the reasons why G2 don't have too many fans. I feel like that, or people that don't like their playstyle, because it's so methodical and slow and calculated that they're in the last 20 minutes we have seen almost 0 pivotal moments. No highlight reel where we can bump them all together and be like, oh, this happened. It's more like, macro. And yeah, nobody enjoys that unless you look at it in a bigger picture. But these guys are so consistently good at it that, yeah, it becomes so suffocating to play against if you're Fnatic.
Sometimes becomes suffocating to watch as well.
No,
I can breathe.
Well, G2...
Maybe get rid of the tie, Trevor.
They've got themselves, not yet, soon. G2, all 3 inhibitors down. It is a formality of how they'll now move into the base. 5,000 gold on that previous Baron power play, 1,000 above the league-wide average. That's the difference in gold earned during the same time of the Baron buff than their opponents. And for G2, it's just another great game. They've responded to Fnatic shenanigans, they've adapted to picks and bans, and it's feeling like this support staff and the players and everybody's coming together throughout the course of the best of 5, you know, and G2 is an organization very proud of the growth in their support staff structure, and it's something that, you know, we haven't necessarily shone a huge light on throughout the course of the splits.
I mean, it's actually interesting that today it's Youngbuck and then Ocelot sitting backstage with the guys. Assume obviously they're still getting a lot of help online from the other guys and when they are at the house, but they've not brought the whole crew to Berlin today. It's actually fun also, Ocelot was doing their kind of pep talk before the game coming in.
The Spanish fire.
2 or 3, 4 minutes, he's kind of talking about how even if you fall behind, it's okay guys, because we're going to be the better late game team, just keep it cool, keep talking, don't tilt. Like that has always been one of the big things for G2.
But they definitely respect Fnatic as an opponent. Like,
I mean, after game 1, I feel like you had to restart.
But even before, we can't really get into it because they're closing out the base, so that'll be a point for later.
I'll save it for the post-game. I'll have a moment or two. Jessis takes a Mystic shot. Look at the damage from Sven at full build. Super minions are pouring through. I think Fnatic are doing the best they can to get rid of these supers, but it's simply not enough time. Perks is already insta-gift capped. Take a look at the damage. Buster shot will send Expect packing, but he simply doesn't have enough damage. Reckless is now the target. Stand United being channeled by Soaz as he's running for his life. Reckless on the fountain, while G2 don't care. They drop the Nexus. They're 1 win away from their 3rd LCS final.
Slow and steady in the end from G2 Esports. In full control once we got past the early game. A lot of credit to Expect in the side lane, under pressure a few times.
Got once. once in the top lane.
Did he once? That's true. Earlier before that.
Yeah, very early in the game, but he learned, and it was still G2 was still getting leads on the other side, so it's almost as if it really didn't happen. Like a tier 1 turret fell, but that was pretty much it. But then on the silence, on the crucial moments in the mid game, this Shen-Tristana combo never really caught him.
And that's really the big thing for G2, because they're not the ones now who need to kind of keep trying to adapt to what Fnatic is doing. It's actually the other way around. It's Fnatic who come in with their very specific style that G2 now won against twice. It's up to Fnatic here in the 4th game to figure out what they need to do.
That's Soa's button that says push for Reckless and vice versa. It didn't work out this game. We'll see if there's any other buttons for Fnatic to push, because G2, they took the win. They're in the lead after game 3. From all, send it over to the analyst desk.
Thank you very much, and I'd like to touch on exactly what the future talked about in terms of adaptation and evolving throughout the series, because you guys were actually discussing it. Was quite interesting. Who adapted to who in this scenario? Veris, you seem to be of the opinion that G2 adapted. Well, amazing, you said, well, this is actually a very different game to all the ones we saw previous. So Veris, we maybe want to kick off what you think.
Well, I think that when we look back at the draft, it was interesting that we did see this shift for more playmaking champions for the side of G2. We saw the Echo being in a favorable matchup in the mid lane. We also saw the Elise come out for Trick in the jungle, and we even see Expect bringing out the Kennen. Now, the main idea behind the Kennen pick was to deny it away from Fnatic, but it also gave him room to dominate lane and have a little bit more influence come the mid game.
Yeah, it seemed like that G2 actually just wanted to shut down the early game of Fnatic, because they realized that maybe if they get ahead or at least equal during the early game, that Fnatic wouldn't be able to play the lead and the map as well as they did earlier. So like this Elise pick actually is really crucial, because the counter pick on top through the Ken, because Ken counters Shen and actually pushes him all the time. And the Elise, to cover it up, made it so that there was no play potential for Boxer at all on the top side of the map, even though they had an early game lead.
Yeah, definitely. And the playbook was just the same for Fnatic. They again set up kind of that move early where they didn't get the kill then. And you said, well, if this doesn't work, then where are you going to go next? And it didn't go well for Fnatic. We're going to take a look at another fight in the top lane where G2 managed to pick up 2 kills, and it's starting to go south for Fnatic.
Oh, this is where things looked bad initially for Mithy, because this sort of pathing is very risky when you have no full vision onto where Jez's and Swaz is. But Mithy, he successfully buys enough time. Yeah, I'm not very good with words today, but he successfully buys enough time for G2 to be able to get the turnaround. And I think that this play by itself is really what started the fall for Fnatic in this game.
Yeah, this over-aggression being punished, like, and giving Perkz even more room to operate, like, it's just, like, gave him so much space. Like, basically, the G2 comp wanted to scale, so, like, both Ken and Perkz, which we played Echo, want to, like, basically win the matchup to the extent that they can actually dominate the side lanes. And once they had that in the back, like, it was over.
Yeah, it was. You mentioned Perkz, and obviously that mid lane matchup, we were looking tightly at that one. Syndra versus Echo, you said, well, Echo is not necessarily a hard counter to Syndra, but it did play out that way in this game, but more because of the way they got the advantages and Perkz played it out.
Yeah, for sure. Like, Perkz played phenomenally. He played the matchup to its fullest, but he also had the benefit of getting the free kill delivered by the Shen ultimate. So, like, I was really just surprised by the over-aggression of Fnatic in general, like, that they felt like the need to force a play almost, when they didn't even need to. They just had to play the map, enable Caps to maybe, like, get roam on the side lane, and then play on dual lane lead again, as they did earlier in the games.
And this is the risk that you run when giving Perkz this kind of an advantage, knows exactly what to do with. And this comes back to what we were talking about in terms of G2 having those sort of playmaking champions, being given the freedom to outplay your opponent. And the fact that Perkz did so much with his lead, Amazing even made the statement he effectively carried his team on his back because of the amount of work that he was doing in this game.
Yeah, for sure. Like, Perkz, I don't know, he's the kind of player that once he gets a lead, or once he's actually being put in a position where he has the jungle cover and whatever it is, like, he's actually really able to succeed. And like, the first 2 games, he wasn't even put in, like, remotely in that position. Now the 3rd game really shows his actual class. So, like, I would think that they would continue that kind of style.
Yeah, I was going to ask who would be a standout player who's really been pulling his weight or turning it around, G2 as a team, but Perkz, definitely, you gave me the answer there as well. And then the big question is, you know, can Fnatic turn this around, and where do they turn this around? Because now they're with their backs against the wall. You said in the beginning of the show, well, hey, Fnatic can step up in these moments of pressure, and that's exactly what we saw versus H2K. But it does seem that their playbook has been exhausted, and as you said, they were taking more risks, and it seemed to increase. They had to take more risks because G2 was putting a lot more against them on the map and taking more of the map as they went forward, and it seems like Fnatic is pushed in a corner. They did miss a ban, though, so how much if they now have 3 bans and they can pick something else, did that influence the strat?
I think that Fnatic as a team in that series against H2K did a great job of riding off of the momentum. They picked creative champions in every single game, but it was also facilitated by the fact that Fnatic did such a fantastic job of punishing the mistakes of H2K. Now G2, after their small misplay in game 1, have recollected themselves, figured out where they were going wrong, and they've adapted incredibly quickly. And now those windows of opportunity are much smaller, which is making it harder for Fnatic to ride off that momentum and punish the mistakes of G2.
And G2 seems to be coming more into their own, playing more how they like to play with less risks. Amazing. Do you see Fnatic coming back?
I see them coming back if they get red side, which they're going to pick for game 4, in my opinion, and if they get the counter picks that they want. Because Fnatic's playstyle is reliant on like getting champions that basically enable them to roam around the map and basically play on almost like in 3v4 situations and still succeed. So they want to play at a minimum disadvantage and still have like the stronger champions to skirmish with. And I think if they have the counter picks, they can actually do that, because then they get lane advantages and then can translate that into other lanes too.
They're on blue side. I just got the information. They are.
Wow.
So
okay, that's going to be interesting.
that will be interesting. We'll see what happens. Can Fnatic come back and take the series to a game 5 and silver scrapes? Yes, please. Their fate will be decided when we return.
He's going to get jumped on Stand United, delivers Sommers under the tower, Shadow Dash towards the
shield.
He stays alive, and escapes. Here comes Expect. The slicing Maelstrom is tearing Fnatic apart. They're running for their life. Flashes over the wall. Spans use the arcane shift. Cocoon at max range.
No question. I have TP, guys. I have TP, don't worry. Nice.
Baron, by the way. Look at Roxy, he's gonna steal it.
He's going to steal it. Fnatic stole the Baron. Reckless is now the target. Stand United being channeled by Soaz as he's running for his life. Reckless on the fountain, while G2 don't care. They drop the Nexus. They're 1 win away from their 3rd LCS final.